Welcome back to the Old Colony Cast podcast about all things Plymouth and surrounding areas. I am one of your hosts, Andy, joined by other host, Hanna.
Sup.
Joined by dog bowl loving fish.
Sup.
And I wonder if sometimes listeners are like, I get that he calls him something different every time, but why that?
You'll never know.
As soon as I said it, I'm like, that was completely off. That makes zero sense.
Most of them
As
don't.
opposed to anything else you've called me.
Sometimes they're like aligned with an actual job,
Yeah.
and sometimes they don't.
They're
I
very
feel like
rarely.
sometimes they're vaguely referencing the previous episode.
Yeah.
They mostly reference the conversations we have between episodes.
Yes.
I want a supercut of all the names I've given you over.
That would be so funny. For me, I don't know. About anyone
Someday I'll decide I hate myself enough to go do that to myself.
That would be great.
else. Yeah.
We cry for help.
Cool.
Next time he's our crying editor. I wonder if I've ever duplicated him. That's curious.
No. I know what you're up
I
to, Andy.
really doubt you have.
I know what you're up to. I'm not looking.
Really, kind of, sort of.
It's 80%.
70.
All right, so moving on as fast as I can. Hannah, what are we talking about today?
I wanted to do some Pride history of Massachusetts.
Oh, cool,
Since June will be Pride Month
I have some personal experience.
with Pride.
Yeah, I marched in the first St. Patrick's Day parade that the, I'm assuming it's Boston Pride?
Yeah.
Was allowed. Because that was like
Yeah, that was a thing. Yeah, I remember that.
And it was, it was very tense.
Yeah.
You know, like there were parents that weren't letting their kids march in the parade.
Yeah, people were pissed.
Yeah.
That was
That
crazy.
didn't ruin your notes, did it?
That wasn't even, no.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't even that long ago.
That's right. It wasn't. It was like practically yesterday. I was in high school like just a few years ago.
It wasn't that long ago, though. I remember like that was a thing I think my health teacher talked about. And like at that
Would have
time.
been early 90s.
Yeah, and at that time, like she was like, it happened like, right? Whenever the year it was that happened, she was like, see, like that was not long ago.
My guess would be 91.
Of course, we're talking in a time still that like gay marriage was not legal, that like this was happening in high school, that
And it was
she's
also,
telling us
like,
about people not being allowed in a parade.
It was the height of the AIDS pandemic. I mean, there was a lot of like misinformation and hate.
I'll tell you about something completely
'Cause it's
different.
Pride Month.
Yes.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Something completely different of that topic, but I wanted to look at some like Massachusetts Pride history
Okay.
and talk about, I found this person from Boston Spirit magazine,
Okay.
Marie Equi. Am I saying that right? Equi? Equi?
Icky, maybe?
Okay. It sounds like something Walter says.
I can see that.
Yeah, he's like, Equi. I don't know. Anyway. Born 1872. So we're doing some...
Going way back.
They didn't have
Deep-
Pride back then.
No, this woman, she stood her ground on some stuff. She was born to two immigrant parents in New Bedford. As a child, she suffered from TB that was so bad she was sent to Florida. I just wanted to note that. I was like, what an interesting...
It must have been like one of those.
Isn't
like,
that, you gotta like...
sunshine?
Like, get that warm air.
Fresh
Or like
air,
what, you know how
humid
I always
air.
see a meme of like women who are like sad, so they get they
They get like sunlight.
no, they
They
need to
those
get
little
sent to the sea. Like you need a like summer at the sea.
Yeah,
that was like
okay.
an old
Yeah.
remedy.
And was it? Yeah, because I think they like because tuberculosis is consumption.
Yes.
Yes,
I feel like that. Like they were like, oh, you need the. No, that was dry air.
It is
she got the wet air.
the wettest air. Look, guys, I just want you to understand that
Florida's very moist.
if I'm ever in a position where I am so sick that the only recourse is send me to Florida, write me off.
Yeah, I was like,
It's been a good run.
Interesting.
Just
Even
write
like
me
what
off.
part of Florida? I was interested to know. But either way, I was like, whatever. So back then in New Bedford, you guys know what New Bedford's famous for?
Fishing.
Fishing and something else.
Whaling.
And something else, nothing to do with the sea.
We did an episode about her, and why am I blanking on her name?
We did. You're thinking of Lizzie Borden. She's from Fall River.
Oh, right. Sorry. I do conflate those.
Get
two.
it
See,
right?
that's the thing.
Yeah, yeah.
New Bedford is famous for being conflated with Fall River.
Textiles,
That is
textiles,
true.
guys,
Okay,
textiles. So she had two routes as a young woman of her status to either go get married or it said education. I'm like, does it mean be an educator or seek an education?
Probably an educator.
Yep. Right? 'Cause
Yeah,
that's
that's
what women
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then they didn't include this, but I was like, there's actually a third option because textiles was definitely the prominent career of women in that time.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like they get to work the looms.
Yes. She was remarked by her teachers as being smart but unruly. Also, from an early age, not showing any interest in boys, which I thought that was like a funny. Also, she did not like boys. She attended New Bedford High School, generally did very well. Made an this, I was like, I'm not going to read too deep into this. Made an impression on one of her teachers, Marie E. Austin, and they had like a mentor-mentee type of relationship. She tried to foster her. This woman, by every person that has regarded her in some way, has just been like, she is so smart. They're amazed by how smart she is. And I'm like, how smart did she have to be? Just kidding. I really like her, but I was like, what is going on?
But I wonder how much of it is she's really smart for a girl, because I feel like that time, you know what I'm saying?
It was pretty wild.
Yeah.
So this teacher saw that intelligence to her. She was just skilled at writing and like had an aptitude for just about everything she set her mind to. So she tried to foster that with her. The article describes her as having a dynamic combination of energy, restless intelligence, and charisma.
How won't that describe me?
I know.
That's like great.
I know. Like this is what people are like. They're like, she was amazing. Like they're very impressed by her presence, which is what a legacy. She was forced to drop out and work in the textiles, as many did, and she worked in terrible conditions for both health and safety.
As many of them did.
Yeah.
The air quality was so thick, or lack thereof,
Yeah.
not good air quality, with cotton fibers that the workers would throw up cotton balls at the end of their shift.
Oh, gross.
Ew.
I have two stories about that real quick. So at my previous employer, Old Navy, they did a lot of like cheap fleece stuff.
Yeah.
Like they were called like magic gloves, and magic gloves were a different thing. Sorry, those were the cotton ones. But they would do like fleece gloves, fleece scarves, fleece hats, fleece vests, fleece whatever, fleece everything, if you can recall. And it was not like top quality fleece. So as you opened it, I would do shipment. Like you could see the fleece like floating through the air, and I was so. I wanted to wear a mask. I was so scared of it going in my mouth.
Because I could totally see that, because I would just think like, this is like
we would have
asbestos before people knew it was bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I always say, I'm like, there's going to be commercials. Like if you worked for a certain gaffing organization between this year and this year.
Do you have what's commonly known as fleece lung?
Yeah. So I literally like used to just open it and hold my breath and look away.
Yeah.
Because we would have fleece fuzzies all over
it.
us.
Oh yeah.
When we would do the reset for Christmas
At Home Depot. Yeah.
We were doing it in like September.
Yeah.
And you'd go home and you'd be covered in glitter.
Yeah, I was just gonna say glitter.
Yeah.
Glitter or like the like just white from like It's not
The fake snow.
The fake
yes,
snow stuff.
yeah. Okay, and I have another story.
Okay.
Regarding throwing up a cotton ball. I
No, I'm sorry. It's just, Andy, how many people do we know that would have multiple stories about throwing up cotton balls?
I know a lot of unusual people.
I know.
so
I know, but still.
So for a very long time in the 7th grade, I decided just on my own, like, I'm going to do this. This is my act of rebellion for whatever reason. I wanted to wear just those plain cotton gloves, like your basic, like you get them at Job Lot, you can get them at Walmart.
Oh, like the ones that like you put on when you're touching like super expensive museum. Just
That would have been crazy.
you can understand why I thought that, right?
Oh, so
thought
did I
you
for
were
a
just
second.
wearing
No,
white gloves.
They're
around.
just like they come
Andy.
in a bunch of fun colors. Little kids wear them in the fall.
Andy.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
They're
yeah,
not
yeah.
waterproof, but
Yeah.
they're
I thought the same thing until she said you can get them at Walmart. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you don't get the fancy curator's
I wasn't,
gloves.
I
I
wasn't
know.
thinking that they were fancy.
I know, but it took me I got
But you
the
could see like
no. I wish I was wearing those in
junior
the
high
7th
Hannah
grade.
walking around all the time with just white gloves on.
I feel like you don't need to say junior high. If Hannah walks into a recording one night with like white gloves on,
We need to get her some for Christmas.
That's insane. Okay. I feel like that's way crazier than what I actually wore. So it's just these like
it's aspirational, Hannah.
those like, you know, kids
the
wear
little,
them.
Yeah.
Kids wear
Just
them.
kind of keep your hands a little warm.
Yes,
little
exactly.
stretchy gloves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids wear more than anything, or anyone really. And mine had some fun little designs on them. I got them for maybe Christmas or something, so I decided I was going to wear them. I'm like, I'm going to wear these every day for as long as I can. To the point where a teacher got so annoyed by me doing that, she said, "Take off your gloves." And I said, "No."
Why was your...
She just was like bothered by it. And I said, "I just want to wear them." And she was like, "Take them off." And I was like, "I can't do that." And she was like, "Ugh," and just like kept the class going. She was very annoyed. So I wore them so much. I used to have very unruly long hair that I like barely brushed. And I would always get like little hairs like just creeping up into the corner of my mouth. So I'd always be trying to like get them out of my mouth, get them out of my mouth.
Yeah.
So now I have fibrous gloves on, and I'm trying to pick hairs off of my tongue and like
Yeah.
get them out.
Listening audience, it's important to understand that she is acting this all out.
Yeah.
So and mind you, like none of my friends thought this was cool that I was wearing these gloves for so long. This is truly just like a testament to me. And like everyone else is probably like, why is she wearing these gloves?
Which is exactly why I was...
Does she have circulation problems?
So
Are her hands cold?
I wore them for so long. I think I wore them for almost 4 weeks. And not like I would take them off when I got home. It was strictly like whoever would observe.
Was this
me
a
at school.
fashion thing?
No,
Was it like a germophobic thing?
no.
Because you're picking them out. Yeah.
I just wanted to like be like, I'm wearing these gloves every day and no one can stop me. And that's what I did. So
Sure.
Okay.
I stopped because one morning I got up and I didn't feel good. I was like, whoa, my stomach was turning and I had to run to the bathroom and I threw up multicolored fibers from my gloves that had been cooking in my stomach and not digesting and that needed to get rid of it. And it was a fiber ball from my gloves. So it was like pink, purple, because my gloves had a few different colors in them.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Hannah, you hacked up a hairball.
It was like cotton.
do that,
It
like-
was cotton fibers and probably
the
like
cat is?
polyester.
Yeah.
Probably polyester
Sure,
fibers.
yeah, yeah.
Got the
Oh yeah, there's
got
nothing.
the PFAS right in me.
There is nothing edible about your gloves.
No, and so it did come back. They came back up.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And then one time, my dad might listen to this episode, but one time I was telling my dad about how I wore these gloves in school. This is shortly after
Yeah.
it happened. And how I would try to get, I was getting hair out of my mouth so often that I ended up throwing up a fuzzball.
Yeah.
And my dad, he was driving. He's paying attention to the road. So he like half took in what I said.
Yeah.
And he was like, "So why is it you think that like you need to lick your gloves?" And I was like, I got so mad. I said, "That's not what I said." I got pissed. I like yelled at him. And he's like, I'm sorry. I didn't hear that part. I said, I'm just taking hair out of my mouth. It happens all the time. Okay. So sorry to take that time away from Marie Equi. I had to share those stories.
That's fine.
She became friends with with a girl that she knew from school. She was very prominent of the area, like a prominent, well-known New Bedford family. Betsy Bell Holcomb. Betsy Bell Holcomb. Betsy was a talented. Oh, sorry. Betsy attended Wellesley and she was also very impressed by Marie's intelligence and was so determined to get her into college. Marie had a brief period in Northfield Mount Herman School to prepare for college, but so it wasn't quite college. Maybe it was like kind of like
a prep school.
It was a prep school to maybe just finish high school, I guess. But could not afford the tuition. So she ended up dropping out of that. Betsy, on the other side of town, dropped out to move to Oregon and to become a homesteader. And while she was there, she wrote to Marie, bidding her to come join her on this adventure. And Marie did in fact join her in the Dalles. Dales, thank you.
I assume.
Do you know what it is?
No, but I assume it's not Dallas.
Dallas is in Texas.
That's in Texas.
In the Dales.
And if you said go to Oregon and you end up in Dallas, you have everything you said about this woman. She is too smart to end up
rerouting.
So the Dales is at the town at the end of the Oregon Trail. Just so you know.
Did they get dysentery?
No, they were fine.
Okay.
And she went there in 1882. They were indeed a couple and lived out as a couple.
Yeah.
Like they were not hiding the fact they weren't pretending to be roommates or anything like that.
Yeah.
And they were planning to farm. So they made their way in living a few different ways. Betsy worked for a private academy teaching. I guess the owner and the way that this place was run was shady. It was owned by O.B. Taylor, who tried to back out of paying Betsy. At the end of her semester, she was owed $100. Betsy and Marie went to his office and threatened him. Marie threatened him with a horsewhip. And they broke out in a fight, like, in the street. And men had to restrain Taylor while Marie rained blows on him. And was known, he was known to be like a kind of a garbage guy. So like no one cared.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, he sucks.
Like,
so
yeah, he deserves it.
Exactly. Yeah. No one was mad. It was eventually broken up though. Once she was kind of confident in herself and what she was doing there, she became a medical doctor.
Yeah, but that's back when you could be like, I'm a doctor, everybody.
Was this before or after the guy decided, hey, maybe we should have rules?
So
probably roughly the same time.
And opened a practice in 1905.
It's probably why they called it practice.
Yeah. She had a big following. I shouldn't say following, but just like a big patient
Customer
list.
Clientele?
Patient list of women in her practice, because she provided a place to perform safe and clean abortions for people for that time.
Yeah. there is an asterisk on that, huh?
This aligned, her time in this area aligned with the suffragist movement.
Okay.
Specifically of the area, right? It wasn't just like the only time that occurred, but she met Abigail Scott Duniway, and she was the leader of the suffragist chapter there, and became involved with that. In 1906, 1906, there was a San Francisco earthquake, and she headed down there to help with relief efforts. She mostly cared for, once the immediate needs were done, she spent time down there caring for pregnant women, new mothers, and babies. And she was praised in what was the media of that time for being like an angel sent from Oregon, essentially.
Yeah.
For her efforts in that. So eventually, at some point, her Elizabeth, her relationship with Betsy must have fizzled because she met and fell in love with Harriet Speckart. She was a bit younger, so that was slightly controversial. But again, they lived their relationship as out and together. And her mom didn't love that, but I don't know if her mom didn't love it because of the age difference or because of like...
Because of,
They were two girls.
There were options.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they ended up living together for quite some time. They adopted a child named Mary.
This is a very progressive story.
Yes. Yeah. Marie would continue to practice medicine to support them. And this was known as Marie's longest relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. Marie was always remarked as being ghoulish. Oh, sorry. No, she wasn't. I really.
Mean?
I wrote.
I was.
You're like a porridge.
I wrote these notes really quick. Marie would always remember the ghoulish mill days.
All right, there we go.
And
that makes more sense.
She, on top of the things that she fought for in equitable life for everyone, unionizing was one of them. So she fought for the 8-hour workday, establishing union rights, and ending child labor. Let's see. Just double checking. So the suffrage movement she was still heavily involved with. In Oregon, they passed the right to vote in 1912, and it was a 52-48 vote after 5 previous attempts to get it passed beforehand. I know, isn't that crazy? In World War I, Marie, this is actually crazy, Marie denounced the U.S. involvement and was charged with sedition. And she spent 10 months in San Quentin State Prison.
That's crazy.
Yes. Her daughter said she was changed forever after that.
Wow.
Well, yeah, 10 months in prison will do that to you.
Nearing the end of her life, she... What did I say? Sorry, guys. Sorry, everyone. Just nearing the end of her life, she was visited by folks and was remembered fondly by people. So there was someone, there was a group of, I think it was like some first responders group that she had helped out medically, professionally, whatever. And they sent her roses because she was sick. Like she was sick before she died for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
They sent her like 12 roses for like the 12 people or whatever. It was really sweet.
Sweet.
So she was remembered fondly by everyone she kind of had contact with, and friends spoke of her devotion to the things that she cared about so fiercely. And she ended up passing in 1952. And that is the story of the very, very probably, I would imagine.
That's not at all how... Well, first of all, when you said...
really wrapped up version of her life, I'm sure. But
when you said you're doing a Pride history, I thought you were going to be like, oh, the Pride movement got started.
No,
that's why I mentioned the parade.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, but...
that's why I was like, what I'm talking about has almost nothing to do with it, but also a lot to do with it.
But then if you were like, oh, I'm going to talk about this woman... lesbian couple in history. It's not how I thought it was going to go either. Because I mean, everyone really liked her. I mean, except for the government, but everyone really likes her.
Yeah, or like she was she stood on her business.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm sure there are some people that did not like her, right? Because like she stood for so many people's rights in a lot of ways, and that people always take that as you standing on their rights. So. Which isn't. We can all
have rights.
We can all have rights.
We can all mind our own business.
Yes. But I wanted to do like a profile piece on someone in history from Massachusetts, and I came across that, and I thought she was really cool.
That was a good one.
Thank you. New Bedford.
New Bedford represent, not Fall River.
No.
Don't get them confused, guys. I don't have an update, but an interesting story.
Yeah, please do.
To close on. Not related to Pride.
Okay.
And I don't remember what you were saying that made me think of it. but I met an interesting Plymouthian.
Who is it?
I don't remember his name because that's not really how I work.
I know. I was gonna say you never do.
so-
Vicious face.
Hannah, Andy and I have our shirts on our. Andy and I have our names on our shirts because otherwise, he would not remember who I am.
Yeah.
He's
I'd be
literally
John,
like-
James. No, so I was sitting having a beer at my favorite dive bar, British Beer Company, and I love sitting at the bar. I think you get better service.
Yeah.
You start up conversations with interesting people.
Well, that bar is so fun to sit at.
Yeah. So start talking to this guy, and he's like asking me these questions around town. I'm like, oh, you're not from here? And he's like, well, I grew up here, but I don't live here anymore. I live Georgia. I think it was Georgia. But then at one point he kind of like stood kind of on the footrail of his stool and put a sticker on the wall, which is rude in any other place. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's the British Beer Company. It's,
Right.
Those stickers are structural at this point.
And I was like, what was that? He's like, oh, it's a Blue Angel sticker. I fly with the Blue Angels.
Shut up.
Right?
I have seen so many Blue Angel things recently. So this is crazy.
Yeah. And so it was just like this really interesting conversation with this formerly local dude who flies with the Blue Angels. And
So cool.
yeah, it was really cool. And I'm like, well, how do you get to be part of that? He's like, well, you got to fly. You have to be a combat pilot.
Yeah, yeah.
Talking about like what it's like to fly in combat. And,
Yeah.
Misconceptions about like,
Like Top Gun and
well,
stuff.
it's more like, I think America can tend to have like an opinion of like other countries as being like, oh, they're so backwards. It must not have been any threat to you guys
Right.
to fly over there. He's
Right,
like,
right.
no, like he's like, when you get shot at, you have seconds to respond.
Right.
Yeah, so he's just a really interesting guy, and I don't remember his name. So if you have,
You're right. That was really off topic of
Oh yeah, it was. And I don't. You said something in there that I was like, oh yeah, I wanted to talk about
That's
that.
so
Said
funny.
the color blue.
Yeah.
Could have been.
I did say the color blue at one point.
You know what? You said something about her being an angel.
Oh,
I bet
okay,
you that's
yeah.
what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So completely off topic, but I just
Yeah.
thought it was a sit at a bar, talk to the person next to you,
Yeah. For sure.
and not like a weird way, like just
Just regular people to people.
yeah.
I guess this is the part where we stop talking.
That's so funny.
And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebri-art to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at Inebri-art.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or at Inebri-art6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebri-art, and all the other shows on the Inebri-art Network, which you can find at Inebri-art.com. So thanks again for listening.